Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. The Government of India uses indicators such as GDP, IIP for effective policy making. And it also makes a lot of changes in how these indicators are collected as well as calculated. What are the changes introduced? In addition to that, let's also decode what are the new indicators introduced by the government in this year, that is 2026. Let's start with the changes that the government of India has introduced in the most important indicator, GDP or gross domestic product. GDP is the most important indicator which is used to measure the economic productivity. In case of India, very often you come across the statements India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, that is based on the GDP. India is one of the largest economies in the world, that is again based on the GDP number itself. GDP simply represents the market prices of all the final goods and services which are produced in India. Earlier, the authority NSO, National Statistics Office, which functions under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, used the base year of 2011 and 12 to calculate GDP, GDP growth rate, etc. There have been multiple concerns raised regarding the methodology that is used to collect the data. For example, there has been one concern that GDP data for India can be overestimated or underestimated because we do not have the right way or we are not using the right method to calculate the output from the informal economy. In simple terms, those which are unincorporated enterprises. And please remember, the government generally changes the base year, the calculations, etc., once every 5 years. So the base year of 2011 and 12 was introduced by the government back in the year 2015, which essentially means the government had to change the base year again after 5 years, that is 2020. And in the year 2020, Indian economy was facing pandemic issues. It was undergoing slowdown. It entered into recession. So the government of India had to wait for the recovery to happen. And after the recovery happened, multiple surveys were conducted. The data was collected by the authorities. And using this, the government has made changes in terms of the GDP calculation. The new base year is 22 and 2023. And like I said, compared to earlier system where concerns were raised that we are not collecting the right quality data, the government has addressed these particular issues by making lot of changes in how the data is collected. For example, in order to address and collect the right quality of the data from the unincorporated enterprises, the government, that is NSO, has introduced a survey, annual survey of unincorporated sector enterprises. So, a lot of these kind of changes have been incorporated, which will help in collecting the right quality, quantity of data, and more importantly, improving the credibility of the GDP calculation as well as the outcome. This is published for a quarter, a financial year as well. And GDP, like I said earlier, is the most important indicator that is used to calculate and find out how India is performing compared to its competitors. China, USA, Britain, Germany, etc. So, this is the set of changes that the government of India has introduced. Please make a note of this. Now, before I move on to the second indicator, here is a very important announcement. I know that a lot of you are preparing for the civil services exams 2027 and 2028. And right now you're facing a lot of issues in terms of efficient coverage of the static portion, the correct coverage of current affairs, what kind of test series you should be appearing for, what kind of optional you should be choosing, when you should be choosing, by what time you should be ending, etc. As a result of this, right now your UPSC preparation, although you're putting a lot of efforts, may not be very efficient. At Unacademy, we have introduced a new program, Iconic Pro. Enroll into this particular Iconic Pro, and I promise to you, this will be a one stop solution for all of your preparation problems to ace the civil services exams. Once you enroll, you will get video mentorship with top educators, unlimited mentorship sessions with the mentors every 3 days, access to 12 optional subjects, the prelims as well as mains test series, and not to forget the UCAN current affairs classes as well as the reading material. So when you look at it, whatever aspect of the prelims as well as the mains coverage is required to ace the examination, all of these areas are covered. Those who are interested in enrolling into the Iconic Pro program, you can use this particular mobile number, give a call to us, our team will reach out to you. And those who are interested in enrolling, do not forget to use the code IAS English to get the discounted value. Let me continue the discussion. Second important indicator is WPI, Wholesale Price Index. Now, there are two very important indicators which were used earlier to measure inflation in India. One is WPI and the second one is CPI. WPI measures changes in the prices of the basket of goods in the wholesale market, where the buying and selling of large quantities will take place, and where the buying and selling will happen between the traders and the distributors, between the companies and the traders, etc. etc. That is, in a nutshell, in the wholesale market. Then there's a second indicator to measure the changes in the prices of the basket of goods and services which are consumed by you and me. That is the retail consumers, that is CPI. Changes have been introduced for CPI. Let me cover the WPI first and then we'll shift to CPI. So the wholesale price index for the first time was introduced back in the year 1942. Until very recently, the base year for WPI was the same as that of GDP 2011 and 12. The Government of India, that is specifically the Office of Economic Advisor, which functions, that is Office of Economic Advisor, functions under DPIIT, and the DPIIT in turn functions under Ministry of Commerce. So the Office of Economic Advisor publishes the wholesale price index for every month. And this is one of the very important indicators that is used by the government, by many other institutions for efficient policy making. So the base year has been changed now from 2011-12 to 2022 and 23. In addition to this, there is change in the basket of products as well. Earlier in the basket, there were 697 products. Now it has been changed or revised to 957. A lot of you will do the calculation 957 minus 697 and you will note down a particular number of products. Please don't do that, because it is not just increased by certain number of items, that is 957 minus 697. What in reality will happen is some of the products, their usage would be over. The trading volumes would be negligible or not there at all, right, in this particular, let's say base year. As a result of that, those particular products are removed from the basket. And there are certain new products whose trading volume has been higher, or certain other products whose volume has increased compared to last base year. Their weightage would be increased, or these products are introduced in the basket. So there are certain products which are removed from the basket, certain products which are added into the basket. Right? So the number of items have been changed from 697 to 957, and the group is the same. That is, these 957 products are divided into three groups: primary articles items, fuel and power items, and manufactured items. Please memorize the weightage. UPSC has the habit of asking questions on the weightages of these particular products. Right? So these are certain important changes that the government or the Office of Economic Advisor has done under WPI. But more importantly, listen to me very carefully now. Going forward, there is a publication of one more indicator along with WPI, and that is basically PPI. This has been already introduced by the government, right? So there will be two indicators, PPI as well as WPI. Both of these indicators will be published for the next 5 years for every month. And after 5 years, we will be discontinuing WPI and we will continue with PPI. Right? Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement again. We will discontinue WPI and we will continue with PPI. Because globally, the developed countries basically use PPI as a better indicator to measure inflation compared to WPI. WPI focuses only on the goods. PPI focuses on a wider basket. Right? WPI is basically old, outdated. PPI, right, considers better measurement, etc. That's the reason PPI is used in developed countries. India has tried introducing PPI multiple times in the past, and finally it has decided we will replace WPI after 5 years and we will use PPI. So PPI basically stands for Producer Price Index. This is published by Office of Economic Advisor, who functions under DPIIT, which in turn functions under Ministry of Commerce. Right now, there will be three indices which will be published for PPI. One is called as Output PPI. Second one is called as an Input PPI, and the third one, which is completely an upgrade compared to WPI. Like I said, in WPI only goods were covered. In PPI, there will be coverage of services as well. So in case of output PPI, we will measure what is the prices, right, received by the producer and what is the change in these particular prices received by the producer. Right? So that is measured in the output PPI. In input PPI, it will basically track the prices, measure the changes in the prices that are paid by the producer. For example, when I purchase inputs, if I'm a producer, I'll keep on making certain payments for this. So what is the change in these particular prices? And in case of services PPI, right now it will cover 7 services: banking, securities transaction, insurance, management of pension funds, railways, air, and telecom. And the changes in these will be measured and published. So this is a new indicator. Please be very careful. Next important set of changes in the indicator CPI, Consumer Price Index. It is nothing but measuring retail inflation. It measures retail inflation. So what are the important changes? First one, earlier the base year that was used to publish CPI was 2012. Now the base year has been shifted to 2024. Who will publish CPI? It is published for every month by the authority NSO. The basket for publication of CPI, measurement as well as publishing CPI, it includes both goods and services. For example, right, have a look at the data here. Earlier, with the base year of 2012, the basket had 299 goods and services. Under the new base year, the basket has been changed from 299 to 358 goods and services. Of 358, there are 308 goods and 50 services. And it is the consumer price index which is the indicator representing the inflation that is experienced by you and me. That's the reason the measurement of CPI or the publication of CPI is so important in terms of policy making. In fact, the Reserve Bank of India uses the CPI as a nominal anchor, which simply means the Reserve Bank of India uses the CPI for policy making. That is, in terms of interest rates, should RBI increase or decrease? That is determined based on the most important indicator, CPI. Next, Index of Industrial Production, IIP. What are the important changes that has been introduced in IIP? First and foremost, Index of Industrial Production measures the changes in the output. The changes in the output. Because we need to keep a track regarding what is the change in the output that is involved or that is done in the manufacturing sector or industrial sector. So that if there is a decline in the output, effective policies can be formulated, money supply can be changed, the government can come to the rescue of, right, let's say these particular the entities, etc. So this is published by NSO and this is published every month, and the base year that was used for that was used earlier for the calculation of IIP is 2011 and 12. Now this has been changed to 22 and 23. And not just this. Have a look at this. What are the, right, let's say areas that were covered under the IIP under the earlier base year? The composition also has been changed. Earlier, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, electricity, and gas supply. These were only the three areas that were covered. Only three areas that were covered. Now, in addition to these three, there is entry of water supply, sewage, and waste management. In addition to this, you also need to make a note of the change in the weights that has been allocated for all the four groups. Right? So please use this particular data to memorize the data. Questions can be asked in the prelims as well as mains examination on these indicators. Weights of the mining and quarrying, it has been reduced. For manufacturing, it has been reduced. Electricity and gas supply has been increased. And the new introduction, water supply, sewage, and waste management, has been given a weightage of 2%. These are certain very important changes that the government has done in the context of index of industrial production. Now, using index of industrial production, certain industries within this particular list was covered under one more indicator, which is called as index of core industries. Core industries basically focuses on those industries which are relevant, which are very essential, and which will supply raw materials for other industries to produce goods and services. So until now, there were 8 industries which were covered under ICI, and this was called as index of 8 core industries. Now the list has been expanded to cover 9 industries. This is a potential area. So the 8 plus 1, the 9 industries are coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery products, fertilizer, steel, cement, electricity, plus iron ore. Iron ore also has been covered as the ninth industry, and the reason that has been cited is very simple. There is a lot of volume of trading that is being produced and consumed in India. That's a reason, based on the usage in the industrial production, because it has increased, it has been included. And the base year also has been changed from 11 and 12 to 22 and 23. And finally, this is published by the Authority Office of Economic Advisor, who functions under Ministry of Commerce. Now, the last indicator which has been introduced, this is a new introduction, Index of Services Production. Until now, we measured the changes in the industrial activity using IIP. But the problem was, on one side, we are tracking the changes in the output in industries, whereas more than 50% of the contribution to the GDP and GVA is coming from services sector. In fact, according to the latest data, 52% of the gross value addition has come from the services sector itself. In addition to this, services sector accounts for large chunk of employment in India. It also brings in huge amount of forex reserves. It accounts for large exports from India. So considering all these important points, the government of India has announced a new indicator, Index of Services Production. This is published by NSO, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It will basically measure the changes in the output of 19 services subsectors. 19 services subsectors. The list has been provided here. You can have a look at it. Right? So it will have the base year of 24 and 25, and this will be published with a lag of 60 days from the reference date. For example, you want to measure the ISP for the month of July, then it will be published 60 days after the end of July. Right? So these are certain very important points in terms of the new indicator that has been announced by the government, that is Index of Services Production. Now those who are, right, let's say the beginners for the UPSC examination, I keep on telling this to everybody, every learner or every aspirant that I teach and I come across. The best way to prepare for the civil services examination and ace it, one area that you will have to go through is making notes, and especially making short notes. Short notes. You can write notes in 500 pages, 800 pages. But in terms of revision, it will be very difficult for you, especially when you want to revise these particular subjects in the last 3 to 4 months. So, whatever I've covered so far, a lot of you would have started making the notes. Don't make it. Here is a one pager notes. Here is a one pager notes of whatever are the important points along with the changes in all the indicators that I've discussed, starting with the GDP, ending with Index of Services Production. What you need to do is very simply go to the description part of the video, go to the right description box. There will be a link provided for downloading this handout. Click on the link, download, and use it for revision purposes. And finally, I want you people to give the answer to this MCQ. Which of the following indicators are published by NSO, National Statistics Office? What is the right option for this particular question? Do let me know in the comment section. These are the very important changes that the government of India has introduced in multiple indicators that the government uses for policy formulation. If you have liked the session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.